Our next movie is called a prequel. That means it tells what happened before the original movie began, as if anybody cares, because if that were interesting, why did they begin the original movie where they did?
You got that right.
But however, prequels do have a purpose. They're especially useful if everybody got killed in the original movie, so there isn't anybody left over for a sequel, although even that has never discouraged the Friday the 13th crowd. Everybody is killed at the end of every one of those movies, except maybe for Jason.
You're getting ahead of yourself
the man
now.
with the hockey mask. I am. The name of this movie is Missing in Action Part 2, and it stars Chuck Norris in a Southeast Asian prisoner of war drama that seems to be totally ripped off from the bridge over the River Kwai. There's a cruel commandant in this movie and a couple of Yankees who collaborate with the enemy, and then there's Chuck Norris as a one-man karate strike force who fights back with his bare hands.
Damn. We gotta find that rope.
They're getting too close. Let's get out of here.
It's gotta be here.
Harrison said they were under a big rock. There must be 60 big rocks.
Here it is. Good luck, kid.
Aren't you coming?
I'm going after Hull.
If you're staying to fight, there's no way I'm leaving you.
Here they come. Get your ass down the cliff.
Demo, look out!
You always wonder when you look at an action sequence like this, you ask a couple of questions. Why would the enemy spend thousands and thousands, if not millions of dollars, to maintain this elaborate security apparatus to keep 6 or 7 Americans in the jungle for 10 years?
I got another question.
Second, who does their laundry? It's all pressed, you know, they look like they just came out of the one-hour Martinizing.
Yeah, when I was watching that scene, I'm thinking that I'm sitting there, look how the bomb goes off, and then all the extras go like this. They just lie, fall over.
I always love it when the bomb goes off and somebody hits the trampoline and jumps over. It's always the same guy. It's like in a Western. Always one guy who gets towed along by his heel, you know. It's the same guy every time, especially. Chuck Norris, however, I will say this for him, is not a bad actor. In fact, in movies like Lone Wolf McQuade, he's made some of the better action films of recent years. Remember that one?
Yes.
Where he was in the pickup truck and he drove it right out of the grave with the steering wheel in one hand and a six-pack in the other. Now that was a good scene, which shows that if you see enough of these movies, your mind does go soft. But in Missing in Action Part 2, there's all sorts of unnecessary details in this movie about a drug smuggling operation and about the hang-ups of the camp commandant and about how these two men are going to have a macho face-off and all of this stuff that seems borrowed from every other prison camp movie ever seen. And not surprisingly, since it all just leads up to Missing in Action, the first movie, which is now the second one, if you can figure that out. Still, I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say that of the 4 movies on this show, this is the best one.
That's not a very long limb. I think that it's probably the best, but I had a strange reaction to this picture. I watched it. It wasn't very good. It was very predictable, bordering on racist in the old-fashioned way, the World War II films. And then I'm sitting there and I get very sad. And what I realized, I think, was there's this tremendous need in this country to see films in which the Americans win the war in Vietnam, the war that we lost in real life. And I'm sitting there thinking how sad it is that there's this tremendous need, that we have this tremendous need, and I'm feeling so sorry for all the veterans, and I'm thinking about Vietnam, and just by thinking about Vietnam, it was more meaningful than this picture was, so I give the film credit for at least having a subtext that is something interesting.
Yeah, essentially what all of these Missing in Action type pictures do, and there have been a whole group of them, is they say, look, we're going to replay the war and we're going to have our rules.
That's right.
Here are this is who the enemy's going to be this time, this is who we're going to be this time, they're going to be bad, we're going to beat them, and we're going to forget like the real war was ever fought.
It's sad. That's what's going on in the movie.